The 1990s, a decade of musical transition. Grunge was exploding, pop punk was finding its feet, and heavy metal was a commercial juggernaut. But amidst these defined genres, a band from San Francisco was playing a different game entirely. A game that perhaps the 90s just weren't ready for. This is the story of Faith No More. If you think you know them just from that one massive hit epic, stick around, because you've only scratched the surface. Faith No More wasn't just a band. They were a musical chameleon. The original lineup featured guys like Mike Patton on drums and Billy Gould on bass, who would become the core of the band for its entire run. But finding a permanent singer was a challenge. They went through a few, including Courtney Love, believe it or not, before landing on Chuck Mosley. Formed in the early 80s, the band went through several lineup changes before solidifying with singer Chuck Mosley. Their sound was a chaotic blend of punk, funk, and metal. Their 1985 debut, We Care a Lot, was a raw, aggressive statement. It showcased their signature blend of heavy riffs, slapping bass, and Mosley's distinctive, off-kilter delivery. They were building a cult following, but internal tensions were rising, and the band felt they needed a different kind of frontman to reach their full potential. Enter Mike Patton. In 1988, the band fired Mosley and recruited this 20-year-old kid from a bizarre experimental band called Mr. Bungle. That set the stage for their strange journey into the mainstream. Patton wasn't just a singer. He was a vocal acrobat, a shapeshifter who could go from smooth crooning to guttural growls to manic rapping, sometimes all in the same song. With Patton's incredible vocal range and chameleonic style, the band recorded The Real Thing in 1989. The album was a slow burn, but then came Epic. A monstrous collision of rap, metal, and piano, the song was unlike anything on the radio. It became a massive global hit. And suddenly, Faith No More were stars. They were pigeonholed as a rap metal or funk metal act, a label that captured one song, but not the soul of the band. The world thought it understood Faith No More, but the world was wrong. The Real Thing was so much more than just one song. Tracks like From Out of Nowhere and The Haunting Falling to Pieces proved they were a creative force to be reckoned with. They had created a sound that no one could quite label. Was it funk metal, alt metal, rap rock? It was just Faith No More. So, how do you follow up a multi-platinum, genre-defining album? If you're Faith No More, you get even weirder. In 1992, they released Angel Dust. Instead of another epic, the band delivered a dense, challenging, and often abrasive masterpiece. It veered from lounge music to thrash metal, from cinematic soundscapes to nightmarish noise. Songs like Midlife Crisis and Jizzlobber were complex, unsettling, and utterly brilliant. For the record label and many fair weather fans, it was commercial suicide. For those who listened closely, it was a revelation. This was a band refusing to be a product, choosing instead to be artists. They threw everything at the wall: movie samples, carnivalesque keyboards, and Patton's most unhinged vocal performances yet. The record company was reportedly terrified. The lead single, Midlife Crisis, was anything but radio-friendly, yet the album was a critical triumph. After Angel Dust, guitarist Jim Martin, whose heavy metal roots were a key part of their sound, left the band. This led to even more experimentation on their next two albums. 1995's King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime was incredibly diverse. It swung wildly from the brutal aggression of Digging the Grave to the smooth, soulful lounge pop of Evidence. It was almost like a collection of different bands on one record, showcasing their insane versatility. Their unclassifiable nature was never more apparent than on their tour opening for giants like Metallica and Guns N' Roses. In front of massive stadium crowds, expecting straightforward hard rock, Faith No More delivered their eclectic, genre-bending sets. The response was often lukewarm, even hostile. They were too weird, too unpredictable. They covered the Commodores' Easy and made it a bigger hit in the UK than any of their metal anthems, further confusing their public image. They were a living paradox. While the mainstream struggled to categorize them, their influence was quietly spreading. A new generation of musicians was listening. Bands that would later define the sound of the late 90s and 2000s, like Korn, Slipknot, Deftones, and System of a Down, all cited Faith No More as a primary inspiration. They saw a band that broke all the rules, that blended genres with fearless creativity, and that proved you didn't have to fit into a neat little box to make powerful music. Then came their final album of that era, 1997's Album of the Year. It was a more focused, atmospheric record. Songs like Ashes to Ashes and Last Cup of Sorrow were dark, melodic, and powerful. It felt like a mature and fitting end. And in 1998, after years of relentless touring and creative pushing, the band announced they were splitting up. It was the end of an era. But you can't keep a good band down. After an 11-year hiatus, where the members all pursued fascinating side projects, Faith No More reunited in 2009 for a series of incredible live shows. The magic was still there. This wasn't just a nostalgia trip. They were as tight and ferocious as ever. And to everyone's surprise, in 2015, they released a brand new album, Soul Invictus. It was a triumphant return, proving that the creative fire was still burning bright. Faith No More didn't just write songs. They created sonic worlds. They were the jesters in the court of heavy metal, the surrealists in a world of rock and roll realists. They were too complex for the simple categories of the 90s music industry. They were a band ahead of their time, planting the seeds for a musical revolution they would never fully get credit for leading. That's why
say.
The 90s may not have been ready for Faith No More, but their legacy proves that music's most vital artists are often the ones who arrive right on time to show everyone else the future. If you haven't yet seen or heard these absolute genre-bending, punk-funk metal legends, then do yourselves a favor and check them out. Have a dig through their albums and vast body of crazy work and see what you can find. Drop a comment below and tell us your favorite Faith No More song or album and what live shows you've seen, and make sure you subscribe to the Heavy Metal Cartel for more progressive rock, punk, and heavy metal videos.